Nate Palmer will be a big part of this offense. I think the TCU offensive line will stay as it is. And more notes from spring practice that's coming up next year on Locked On Horned Frogs, your team every day.
You are Locked On Horned Frogs, your daily podcast on the TCU Horned Frogs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Locked On Horned Frogs, your team every day. I'm your host, Steven Simcox. I've been covering TCU athletics for the past 12 years. Thank you for making Locked On Horned Frogs your first listen. Happy Easter weekend to all of you. He is risen indeed. And we're going to talk some TCU football today. We'll also get into TCU baseball, taking down UCF, and men's basketball. Where do they go in the transfer portal from here? We'll discuss all that. But we start with TCU football. Spring practice is over. It's ending today. Spring camp will be done. They'll move on to the summer and then into fall camp. 3 things that we learned from spring practice for TCU football. The first is Nate Palmer is going to be a big part of this offense. I am not quite ready to say this is your starter. I still feel like that's somewhat up in the air. I do think it's really down to Nate Palmer and Jeremy Payne. I feel like Kavorian Barnes will have a role in this offense, but it will be as a short yardage back. I think John Denman will be given some opportunities here and there, the true freshman. But the 2 guys that are the leaders in the clubhouse, Jeremy Payne and Nate Palmer, these are the dudes that are going to make it happen. And for Nate Palmer, we didn't see him play last year until the bowl game, where he had 11 carries for 33 yards. So the stat sheet is not super impressive. And you might wonder, why am I bullish on him being a big part of this offense? Well, the practice reports, the things the coaches have said, he's been a dude that's made plays. Now, it's also been noted they've spread out the carries a little bit. I mean, they really are trying to give everybody a chance to assert themselves. I think that'll continue in fall camp. I believe that each one of these guys is going to get an opportunity to show what they can do, to be a breakout back. Last season, TCU's leading rusher had 460 yards, and that was Cam Cook. It truly was, by the 4th or 5th game in the season, it truly was running back by committee. I didn't even mention Trent Battle. He's going to be a factor here too. There's a lot of names. My concern for this running back room, there's a number of guys that I like some aspects of their game. And I mean, I can kind of talk myself into, Trent Battle's a vet. He's played a lot. He got some starts last year. He showed some good things. But I just think he kind of is who he is at this point. And that's not a bad thing. He is a good college football player. But he's not a running back that's going to tote the rock 15 to 25 times a game. I think he's a change of pace back mainly. He can catch the ball in the backfield. He can block. He brings a lot to the table, but it's sort of as a secondary option. Jeremy Payne, I loved what I saw from him. I feel like as the year went on, TCU used him more as kind of a scat back in the screen game, short passing game. They could get the ball to him in space. He'd go make plays. But he was able to work through the offseason program. I think he's got good weight on him now. And I believe he's going to get, a good amount of opportunities in this offense. Kavorian Barnes had a good career at UTSA really up until last year when he dealt with some injuries and kind of fell behind a couple other guys as an established starter. I'm skeptical that he can just hit the ground running and be a super effective, powerful running back. However, I do think he's a dude that could give TCU a spell from time to time, give him a different look, make some plays. John Denman, I like the talent. Again, just true freshman. I don't know if he's going to be able to walk in and be a consistent piece. You saw some of these true freshman backs last year show flashes, but it wasn't each and every week they're doing XYZ. Nate Palmer's name has come up a lot when the coaches talk about guys that have been impressive. I did see like the stats were not overwhelming by any means in the New Mexico Bowl. But I like how he ran the ball. It seemed like he just had some toughness, some yards after contact ability, bouncing off tackler, getting upfield, getting 3 or 4 yards. To me, the key, the person that's going to emerge, it's going to be one of two things. Is there anyone in that running back room who is just a true like home run threat that can get big plays? Because they in the run game last season, it was non-existent. Or which one of these guys is the most consistent back at just getting those tough yards, turning 2nd and 9 into 2nd and 7 or 2nd and 6, being able to bounce off a tackler on 3rd and 2 and move the chains. Those are small things in the grand scheme, but they add up. And if you have somebody who can make those plays, it can make a huge difference from your offense. So I believe Nate Palmer is going to be that guy. Secondly, I think this offensive line, they stay pat. Now, hear me. I believe they're going to add a player. I think they add an interior offensive lineman. But when the dust settles, I believe the player they add in the transfer portal on the interior offensive line is going to be a depth piece. It's somebody who can play either side of the formation. If someone's hurt, they can step in. If someone's struggling, they can slide in and make things happen. But I don't believe they're going to bring in another O lineman to push for a starting job. So if the season started tomorrow, I think from left to right, your offensive line is going to be Ryan Hughes, Cade Bennett, Colton Deary, Carson Bruno, Ben Taylor Whitfield. That's my best guess. It really stinks that James Brockermeyer's moved on. Because while, yeah, you can slide Colton Deary to center, and that's technically his natural position in a place where he's comfortable and can do the job. I thought he did some nice things at guard last year. And if you had Brockermeyer in the fold, I just believe you would have more flexibility and depth along the interior offensive line. Somebody, whether it's Bruno or Remington Strickland, has to emerge at that other guard spot. I believe in Cade Bennett. I know he's coming back from an injury, but I think he's going to be solid. I think Colton Deary is going to do a solid job at center. That other guard spot is the question mark right now, because neither of those guys really asserted themselves last season as, somebody who could move a defensive line. They need that desperately. Whitfield and Hughes, there's going to be some growing pains. There just are. You can be assured of that. I get what their rationale is. At a certain point, they've invested a lot in recruiting young offensive linemen. At some point in time, you have to evaluate and say, okay, these are the guys that we brought in. We've put them through our system. They've been through our strength and conditioning program. We need to believe that they can step up and be the guys. But if I were them, I would go get one more starting offensive lineman. Whether it's at right guard or another tackle who could push, the young dudes. That's what I would do. I don't think that's what they're going to do. I feel like they'll get an offensive lineman. It's going to be a guard, but it's most likely someone who kind of understands going into it. This is not me getting a starting job. This is a chance to be a depth piece, be available if there's an injury, be available if, you get in the middle of the season and suddenly it's like, this is not working. We need to switch things up. But this is not someone who's going to come in and from day one be pushing somebody for a starting job. And hey, if that's how they want to evaluate it and assess it, that's fine. The results are going to speak for themselves, though. And I do think that puts a lot of pressure, particularly on AJ Ricker. This is the year where you need to see the results happen. You've had a couple seasons where it's been pretty inconsistent. You got to get that shored up. And what does that look like when these 5 players come together? We'll see, but the run game has to be improved. Like, it just has to be. If it's not, this team's going to fall short of what they want to do. It's imperative you have a more balanced offense. You're playing better defenses. You're playing more physical defenses this year. That's the biggest key to this team to me. I think they can do great things, but part of it just needs to be getting better running the football. Finally, a third thing that we've learned. I feel good about this defensive line. I think they're in a place where they have legitimate pass rush threats in the 2 deep, like all up and down the line of scrimmage. Devin Deal missed most of spring camp, but I'm not worried about him. He's going to be okay. You got some young guys, Adam Schobel, Chad Woodfork, who made some things happen. Paul Olawale coming back from injury. Marcus Deal, Travis Jackson, Zach Chapman, a couple JUCO transfers, and Perry Cole and Kelton Bickle. There's just a number of guys who can step up and make something happen. I also believe they're going to go get a defensive lineman in the portal, but I don't think that disproves my theory here. I just feel like it's going to be, hey, you can never have enough pass rushers, and that's the truth. You can never have enough dudes that can rush the passer on your roster. That's always going to be a plus. So, yeah, go get another guy and feel good about, where you stand with your current crop of players. But go get one more dude. This is the season, though, where we see that Andy Avalos defense really come full circle. And it starts with, are you able to put pressure on the quarterback? That's the key for every defense, but it's a huge key for this one. Because if they can do that at a high level, then they're going to start making more splash plays, and that should lead into some really good opportunities for the offense this upcoming season. There's high expectations for this group, and I think spring camp was very businesslike. I believe it was a lot of just kind of confirming what you already have on campus, which is good to see. There were a number of veterans that got rest. Okay. It's all about executing now. I think they handled this well. Spring portal's open. You haven't seen a huge exodus. Mitch Hodnett entered. But besides that, it's been pretty quiet. Famous last words, but it feels like Sonny has built a good culture here. And this is the season where we have to see it happen on the field again. When we come back, what is TCU men's basketball going to do in the portal? They are running out of options. We'll talk about it next year on Locked On Horned Frogs, your team every day. Amazon Fire TV. They have the Fire Stick now in 4K. It is fantastic. And listen to this. So a couple Christmases ago, my oldest son, Bradley, started hounding me like, hey, I really want an Xbox. All my friends are playing video games. I mean, I want to be involved in that world. And I sort of wrestled with it because I don't know much about video games anymore. But one cool thing about Amazon Fire TV and the Fire Stick 4K, it gives you the opportunity to play Xbox games with no console that's required. Just grab your paired controller, subscribe, or sign into the Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with EA Play, and you're ready to play. Dive into hundreds of premium titles from College Football 25 to Call of Duty Black Ops. It's all available on the Fire TV. With Wi-Fi 6 and auto low latency mode, advanced technology, Fire Stick TV 4K delivers smoother, more responsive gameplay with lightning fast speed you need to stay competitive. 4K streaming allows you to watch more than 1.5 million movies and TV episodes from your favorite subscribed services like Netflix, Prime Video, Disney Plus, and more. Play high-quality Xbox games at the fraction of the cost of the console. Already have a console? A Fire Stick 4K device is more affordable and easier to travel with, allowing you to take your kids' games wherever you plug in. Head to Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On to get started. Xbox Game Pass Unlimited subscription and compatible controller required. Available on select devices, including Fire Stick TV 4K, Fire TV Stick 4K Max, and Fire TV Cube 3rd generation. Give Amazon Fire TV a try today. My friend Matthew Cookson alerted me to this today. PJ Haggerty is in the transfer portal. PJ left TCU a couple of years ago, and since then has just been filling up the stat sheet wherever he goes as a scorer. He went to Tulsa, averaged 21 points a game, went to Memphis last year, averaged 21 points a game. He was the American Conference Player of the Year this past season. He shot 49% from the field in 2023, 47% from the field in 2024, 36% from three this past year. He is a scorer. And Matt's question was, hey, any chance here? When I initially saw this, I was excited. And I did think, man, I'm not positive how things ended with the coaching staff and PJ Haggerty. To my knowledge, there wasn't a lot of contention there. It was unfortunate that he moved on. And that's been a common complaint with Jamie, that he just hasn't done a good job developing players, and guys leave and turn into amazing players. I think some of that is overblown, but PJ Haggerty is the best example of, I mean, the dude just wasn't on the floor as a freshman because you had two really good guards, but then he's moved on to different places and just been an outstanding scorer. Granted, it's been at mid-majors, but still, I mean, 21 points a game is like third in the nation last year. TCU desperately needs a score. So I would get on the phone. I don't think it's likely because I think a dude of this caliber, I mean, we're talking about blue bloods coming after him. But my goodness, having that prior relationship, I mean, you at least have to pick up the phone and say, hey, how are we feeling, man? I'm fascinated by where this team is going to go next year. It's an odd mix. I mean, they kept this core group together that they liked in Jace Posey and David Punch, but it wasn't a team that won a lot of games last year. And frankly, in big moments, they just simply weren't competitive. In the portal, I mean, the moves they made to this point, not really screaming like we're making wholesale changes or we're really going for it. It's been very quiet. Now, Tanner Toolson is a name to know. He was at Utah Valley last year, had a really good season, averaged 13 points a game. He can shoot it. He's down to TCU and Iowa. So hopefully the Frogs can land him. You know, we'll see what it looks like when he's supposed to make a decision here in the next few days. You don't want to negotiate from a spot of desperation, but I will say, like, you need another guard. And Jaden Pierre's coming into, and I know Jaden, like, he put up good numbers from a filling it up in the points department last season at Providence. I do worry about the fact that he just wasn't very efficient. And that was a big problem last season. I mean, I've said this before. I feel like Vashawn Allette was sort of put in an unfair situation. He was asked to do a lot more and initiate and create more of his shots than he probably expected to. But at the same time, he really struggled to do that in an efficient manner. I see some similarities with Pierre, but I hope I'm wrong about that. And I mean, Brock Harding, I think, is a solid pickup if he can do what they want him to do, which is just be a good point guard, initiate the offense. I mean, he's a Frankie Collins replacement. It's a veteran point guard who can get you into your sets, make good decisions, and shoot it a little bit. So those are your dudes right now. You need one or two more. Toolson sounds, I mean, it's promising. You're down in the final two choices. And I mean, again, I think it's a long shot, but I would be very active in at least making PJ Haggerty say no, because he's exactly what you need from a scoring standpoint. This team just has to have more dudes that can go create their own shot. And since Jamie doesn't, I mean, his offense is not complex. Like, they're not really scheming to get guys open. It's more about ISO ball and dribble handoffs and let's try to get good matchups and let our dudes go to work. Well, then this is the kind of player you need. They are banking very heavily on some young guys stepping up next year. And for the coaching staff's sake, I hope that works out how they want it to. Also for our sakes, because I want to watch good basketball. TCU baseball, they have now won 7 Big 12 games in a row. Get a victory over UCF. We'll talk about that next. Here on Locked On Horned Frogs, your team every day. Maybe it's 8. Maybe it's 8 in a row. They've swept 2 series in a row. They won tonight. They won the series finale against Houston. So, yeah, they're playing well. How about I say that? I guess I should have looked at the schedule before I started making all these declarations. But TCU baseball is playing really well. They got a victory over UCF on Thursday night in series opener. Games we played Thursday, Friday, Saturday because of the Easter holiday. Tommy Lepore, once again, was just outstanding. 7 innings, only gave up 1 run. Got into a little bit of trouble. I think it was in the 5th inning. Had first and third and nobody out, and was able to wiggle out of it and only give up 1 run. That was when the Frogs were up 2-1. Chase Brunson hit an opposite field home run to give the Frogs a 4-1 lead. Noah Franco had a 2-run single with the bases loaded late in the game. That pushed it to 6-1. Luis Rodriguez came in and slammed the door. This team is firing on all cylinders right now. That was a tough midweek loss to DBU on Tuesday night, but DBU is a really good baseball team, and it was in extra innings. It was a 1-run game. Frogs had their chances. They're going to be okay. This was a nice bounce-back win. I'm really happy that Tommy could set the tone because I was somewhat concerned about you're flying across the country. Like, you play on Tuesday night, you're flying to Orlando. You got to get back on it on a Thursday evening. But when you have a dude like this on the bump who's just throwing so well, it makes a big difference. Like, it makes everybody better. And the offense, I mean, it wasn't amazing tonight, but they had some big ABs. And as of late, I mean, this has been a team that figures out a way to have some timely hitting, which is really good to see. West Virginia won as well. So West Virginia is still in first place. The Mountaineers refuse to lose. They're playing Cincinnati Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So hopefully the Bearcats can scratch out one of those wins. Pitching wise for TCU on Friday and Saturday, it's listed as TBD right now. Now, last week they did Cole Klecker and then Caden Parker on Saturday and Sunday. We'll see if they follow that trend. But for the moment, no announcement on who'll be starting tomorrow night for the Frogs. On yesterday's episode, I talked about how Josh Hoover said no thanks to Tennessee and is sticking with TCU, a big win for the Frogs. And I was like, look, this shows from an NIL perspective, TCU is competitive right now. It shows that Josh believes in this program and the system and what TCU is doing, and that he thinks this is going to be a big year. Like, he believes in this team as constructed. They've built this team around him and his skill set. And this is a good example of what loyalty looks like in college sports. And also, I think it does speak to relationships still mean something. As much as, like, money is a huge factor. And yes, there are people that are making decisions kind of just based on who's going to throw them the most. But these relationships matter to Josh Hoover. And that's good to see. Zoom Play said I was right. Tennessee is very slick and sneaky. Yeah, I mean, you know, they lost QB. Now they're going after QB. It's tampering. I don't like it. That's the college football world now. And I'm not naive enough to think that TCU is not putting feelers out there too. I don't think it's as much as some other schools because they haven't been as active in the transfer portal. I mean, they're really building around the core group they have right now. Just like everybody else. I mean, they're sending communication out there as much as they can. And then Lenny wants me to give Club Lacrosse a shout out. So I'll tell you, I'll look into it. Now, I'm always going to be honest with you guys. That's not – I had a friend, Austin Meyer, who played Club Lacrosse in college. I enjoyed going to a few games. I don't know a ton about lacrosse, but Sure. I'll check it out. I'll see how they're doing. And maybe on Monday or Tuesday's episode, I'll give a little more detail on what I find. But regardless, next week, please join us. Subscribe to the YouTube channel or your favorite podcast platform. Enjoy your Easter weekend. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast.